Wait, no,
Yeah,
no, no, no,
well,
hold
Ryan
on.
is
Wait,
also
no,
super
hold on.
simpy,
Wait,
so-
hold on. So, yes, they invite on Destiny. They invite on Labs. They invite on a bunch of people like that. But by
Fair.
far the majority of the people that they're inviting on are Instagram models, right? So you'll have one person who knows what they're talking
the
about.
audience want to see hot Instagram models.
Yes, that's fine. You don't deny that you're there to have a conversation, though. You don't deny that you're there for some search of truth.
Why can't you have a conversation with an Instagram model, Tom?
Yeah, I don't understand.
What should I say, pig?
You can have a conversation.
Oink, you pig.
He's denying that it's like a dichotomy set up to destroy them, to make them look bad. He's denying that that's the case, and that's obviously the case.
A lot of his show is saying that I'm against promiscuity and I'm against this specific lifestyle.
I was a little frustrated because, so you obviously disagreed with them on what sex work was, and then Lauren kept saying she wanted everybody to define sex work. So at one point, I kind of like go to Destiny and I'm like, hey, how do you define sex work? He said that's a boring question. Like I don't really care about that. That's a boring question. But then in his closing statement, he was like, dude, I don't even know what these people think sex work is. I don't even know what the conversation is. So I'm like, what? Yeah, no duh. That's why I wanted you to define sex work, bro.
Yeah. Did you see my Twitter shit just now?
No. What's your Twitter?
Okay, I thought this way because the last time you invited me to talk it was after I got into a fucking Twitter war, and so I just got into a fucking Twitter war because I said, and it's the same issue, which because I was trying to talk, I was saying that we're all a little bit abusive sometimes in our relationships. That's basically what I posted, in more or less words, and then everybody fucking can't handle it, and it's the same issue because I'm trying to talk about abuse as a spectrum. And I was trying to talk about sex work as a spectrum. You can be barely a sex worker, but you're kind of sex work, and you can be barely abusive, but you're kind of abusive. But I've tried to make it clear, like, there's a point at which you are an abuser. And I'm not trying to water down that. That's a legal term. Like, once you're an abuser and the law needs to get involved in shit. But up until then, all the way up until then on the spectrum, you can be abusive a little bit. You can have an abusive habit. Like you could have a habit like your partner enjoys a certain type of music and you always tell them that you hate that music in a way that makes it impossible for them to enjoy it. You have killed their enjoyment. Can you go to court and say my partner's abusing me? No, but that's abusive. You've ruined their ability to enjoy their favorite thing.
Like, I don't mind saying that abuse is on a spectrum, but generally, like, we have to, when we say something's abusive, it comes with a moral condemnation. Like, and you can't just ignore that moral condemnation and add in things that are actually okay. You can't just like call things abusive that have no moral condemnation added to them. They have to actually be bad. What's up, Lauren?
Yeah, I'm actually saying the things that I think are abusive are morally condemnable. It's just like some of them aren't bad enough to like step in. Like, if you're fine with your partner ruining your ability to enjoy your favorite band, have at it. I mean, that sucks. But if they have enough things like that,
but we wouldn't say that's
like
wrong. Like, that might suck, but we wouldn't say that's wrong or morally condemnable.
I think it is. It's not condemnable, but it's like it's one step down a road.
To be wrong.
It's one step down a road that leads to condemnation. So you do that, and then you also another very, very even less abusive. Every time your partner washes the dishes, they do a shitty job, and you get fucking pissed. You're like, there's shit on all the fucking dishes. Every time you get really pissed. I'm sure there's a lot of couples that have that. That's kind of normal. Add that to the list of things. Now you're closer.
Okay, now, hey Lauren, you have audio?
Wash the dishes better then. If there's shit on them every time.
Yeah. But like,
So you're
it's
calling
a
one partner abusive or pointing out that the other partner actually makes a mess continuously and does it every time.
no. They're abusive if I was trying to describe a situation where like you get furious. So so it's been this way for months and they're not doing better at doing the dishes. You're just really screaming at them every day about it. So it's obvious two things are true here. They suck at doing the dishes, and you have anger problems. You know what I mean?
I don't think there's anything that's immoral that we wouldn't say is condemnable. Like, all things that are immoral are condemnable. That's kind of like the basis of something being immoral, is that it is condemnable. So to say, well, it's not condemnable, but it is wrong, it is abusive, that doesn't fit. Like, in order for it to be abusive and wrong, it has to be condemnable as well.
Okay. Um, because it's a spectrum that I'm talking about. I only condemn things that meet a certain threshold on the spectrum. But I think that the behaviors I'm talking about are bad, and I would advise people to try to like grow and not do those things because I consider them on the spectrum that leads to condemnable abuse. It's not healthy. You should introspect and try to grow and try to improve upon these things. And so if we can talk about it like a spectrum, we're that much closer to being able to grow.
I don't mind the spectrum, but the spectrum should start where we start calling something abuse. It should start with something immoral. It should start with something condemnable.
I think it's immoral to scream at your partner every time like it's not immoral to point it out. But like
So
if you scream at the top of your lungs every time they do a bad job at the dishes, like that's immoral.
you said that there's a spectrum, certain things you would consider bad, but not condemnable. The definition of condemn is to express strong disapproval of, or to uh, to pronounce a judgment against. So if you're calling something bad, then you are condemning it.
Sure.
If you, yeah. So
I tend to, by that definition, I'm condemning it. I usually use the word condemn when I'm like willing to put my foot down, and like just because I think something's bad doesn't mean I'm willing to put my foot down. But so that's why I didn't say it. But by what you said, it's condemnable.
okay.
Well, so I think that that's where a
But
lot
you
of
put your
people's
foot
issues
down
going
in
to come.
what sense? Like you wouldn't allow your partner to do it? We're talking about like relationships, right?
Okay, if
Well, so
I
tell
am
her about
screaming
the
it,
original tweet. If she didn't hear that, then tell
I
her
didn't
what
hear
you.
it.
Yeah, tell her how we
original
started this
tweet,
conversation.
I just said okay, I can find it, but I just said that is my phone nearby? No, it's not. I don't know where it is. I'll just fucking find it. I have a lot of these tweets. I tweeted about it a lot. Let's just look at the original. Okay. My original tweet. All relationships are kinda abusive. Some are just abusive enough that it crosses a line. Anything below a legal threshold can be very subjective. It's important to discuss abuse at this level, but it's important not to demonize people in these conversations because it's all of us.
I feel like you're really minimizing actual abusive relationships with that tweet.
Okay, here's the thing. Never mind. Just say what. Continue. I don't think I am. I don't think I am. I like this is this. Well, I was gonna say something stupid, and I was like, that's not a good way to say this.
Take a moment.
This is the problem. This is the problem that happens with me a lot. And there was people because I was saying, especially because I'm talking about the abuse thing. People were like, "You're just saying this because you're simping for Max," and I'm like, you realize that I the reason that I'm a Mr. Girl Orbiter is because I agree with him on some things. I don't agree with him on some things because he manipulated me. I chose to be an orbiter of him because so this is I think of things in spectrums. It's just what and when you do that and when you have there's a clash that happens once in a while where if in same thing in the sex work conversation, like Wick was saying, he thinks it's stupid when people will start saying that, like, to some extent, being like a bartender is sex work because it like minimizes what actual sex work and stuff is. But I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm just trying to look at it like you're a little bit a sex worker, you're a little bit abusive, and then even more and more, it's a gradient, it's a spectrum. I'm not trying to minimize things by trying to add that. I don't think so. You do, but then I understand.
I mean, I think it's a really good point
but
to
it's
say.
anything else. So like abuse is a legal standard, right? So let's say you were to say it's a kind of battery. Like it's a little, every person commits a little battery. And technically, like when you bump someone on the shoulder, like, so.
But we would also say things are verbally abusive, right?
Or every person commits a little, I mean, if you really want to go a little bit of grape, I mean, that's not true. But then if you put it on a spectrum and you try to minimize it, I just don't like to minimize actual legal criminal offenses.
I think you can talk about abuse from a moral standard, though. Like, talking about verbal abuse is going to be a bit different than talking about, like, physical abuse, right? There is, like, a colloquial understanding of abuse versus the legal standard.
I was on a Wick panel about this topic a long time ago, and I didn't get much of a backlash about it then. But me and what was her name? I forget.
Yeah, just for the people who just got here, most everybody else is going to be jumping on in like 20 to 30 minutes, so lots of them are going to be a bit late.
Something Pickles, Nora Pickles.
Okay.
Is that her name? I don't.
Anyway,
No,
what about her?
Anyway, I'm getting her. She's got like 20,000 followers on Twitter and stuff. She's not like some like random person that was agreeing with me, but me and her very strongly agreed about because she said that she was both abusive and in an abusive relationship. And if you're unable to talk about the small ways in which you're abusing people, then it's going to get worse and worse. And the small ways in which you're being abused, it's going to get worse and worse until it meets that threshold. And if you want to prevent relationships from becoming abusive, you have to be able to be open and dissect these things. It's also the way people talk about it in therapy.
I think there's a lot of things that people sometimes discuss in therapy that isn't all that helpful sometimes. I think that focusing on what people refer to as microaggressions and looking at every little thing a person does in a nefarious light is a really negative way to go through life.
But I'm not. Yeah, but you're the one saying that. I'm not saying that. I don't think that if you scream at me for not washing the dishes good, I don't think that's nefarious. I just think you're like, we should talk about it because like it's making my life worse. Maybe I should work on washing the dishes and you should work on your anger, and then we can move, have a conversation and move forward.
And what if I work on my anger and I continue to work on my anger and you never work on washing the dishes and then I snap again once? Are you going to call the cops and say that I'm abusive?
No, but it's going to have a detrimental impact on our
abusing you at this point?
It's going to have a detrimental impact on our relationship. And if you do enough
that would be
more
your
things
fault for not cleaning the fucking dishes. Like if I'm
but like me doing the dishes, first of all, if the only thing that makes me do the dishes is getting like violently screamed at, that's not a good way to have a relationship in the first place.
Well, maybe the reason that you're doing the dishes is because I work all day and I pay for everything and I work like 12 hours a day and I come home and all you're supposed to do is keep the house clean and put dinner on the table. And the one thing that you don't do is keep the house clean. And you can't put dinner on the table because the dishes are always flipping dirty. And so
yeah,
I'm hangry now, and I've been working on my anger management, which also takes time out of my day. Okay.
well, me doing a bad job at the dishes is also hurting our relationship, but they both
Yeah.
can be hurting our relationship.
So couldn't you say you doing a bad job at the dishes is abusing me? You're abusing me with your shitty job
Ooh.
at
I'm
dish doing.
Where's that on the
I would not.
spectrum?
No, I wouldn't say that I'm abusing you,
Microaggression.
but I would say that I'm not doing a good job at taking care of you or doing my responsibilities.
Yeah, you're not doing your responsibilities, and I would say that you're abusing me. And I think it's
No,
abusing me
no.
that you don't accept
I think
this.
I think that what you're doing now is minimizing abuse, but that's actually not what I'm doing.
I think that you calling my abuse minimization of abuse abusive, and I just feel like this is really toxic.
You're just so attached to seeing it as a black and white thing that you use any tactic you can. You'll strawman the shit out of me blatantly, and then you'll just do whatever you can so that you can be a Sith and deal in absolutes. Well, let me tell you, buddy, I'm trying to deal in some fucking nuance. Okay.
Now you're
You-
calling me stupid?
You're really good at that.
No,
I'm
I
not
said
gonna
you're
lie.
a Sith,
I'm
not
really
stupid.
crying now. Now the girls are
All
gonna
the
think
simps in
that
my
I'm
audience are getting really upset now. Angela, I can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it still bad now?
It's
Saying one,
getting
two,
better.
three.
Getting better.
Better? I'll turn up the volume. I'll crank this bitch up if I need
There
to.
you go.
I'm
There
not
you
sure-
go.
Is that better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid. Were we talking about the whole Jonah Hill thing? Because I was completely lost.
No, we were probably
where
gonna
that
get
came
into that
from.
at some point, but he was saying that he thinks all relationships are abusive and all people in their relationships are abusive to some extent, and that like abuse exists on a spectrum, and so everybody, even if it's some sort of minimal type of abuse, it's still abusive, and that this is something that you should work on.
I demonstrated.
I don't know. I think that people confuse the word abuse with like neglect. Maybe neglect would be a better word. I think we can neglect relationships.
It's not a
we
bad
don't-
word.
I don't
It's
It's
know.
not
I
a
think
bad
we're like.
word.
I
The
feel like.
reason
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
there is like technical legal distinction between the two words, but they're often criminally charged the exact same. So even if there is like a technical distinction, they usually have, at least in the state statutes that I've looked up, they tend to have the same consequences.
Okay, hold on now. Okay, you just fucked up. Okay, because you just said because I wasn't aware of this. So neglect is apparently a legal standard. So if neglect is a legal standard, but we're comfortable watering that down, so that we can avoid watering down abuse. So now we're still watering down a legal standard. We're like now we're making it okay to neglect people because we're watering it down. I'm sorry to be so harsh on Angelina Knight because I'm
Just
really
Angela.
not. You were the one who said that, Angela.
Just Angela. Yeah.
But I was mostly arguing with what is your name?
I'm Lauren. Nice to meet you.
Lauren. Yeah, I was arguing with her, and then you got in the middle of it. So you know, but
Wait, weren't you guys just on the panel together?
Yeah,
Am I
but
crazy?
I mean, I'm not. Yeah, we were.
All right. Not memorable at all, I guess.
I guess.
No, I like Nora. She's got some interesting perspectives.
Oh,
you're not like a cookie cutter like everyone. You have some interesting, unique thought.
Did you say Nora?
You're worth talking to.
Nora?
Laura.
Lauren. Yeah.
Lauren, whatever. I'm really bad with names.
Whatever.
Like really bad.
This is neglect. Do you guys see that?
Yes,
That's neglect
this is
right there.
neglect.
This is neglect?
Yeah.
Lauren.
Really confused right now? This is more than a neglect. This is active abuse. Okay.
Okay.
The distinction between neglect and abuse is just an omission. So with neglect, you need to have a duty to do something and then omit to do it. And then with active abuse, you actually have to do an act of abuse. So for instance, with neglect, you could have a duty to your child, and then you neglect them by neglecting to feed them, by not doing that. And that would be still that would be abuse. And in certain states, it's the same, like you either get the same or just a slightly lesser charge for neglect than abuse, but it's still abuse and you still get criminal charges. So
Fair. All right. Well, I have nothing to say about that. I mean, maybe I'm just ignorant. Like, I would assume in my mind, like, abuse is like actively premeditating, just like on the actual action of being abusive. I guess neglect is like, oh, it's working up to abuse. Like, that's how I view it as. Maybe it's just my modern ignorant brain breaking it down in that way. So I'm not saying it isn't bad. I think most relationships, people tend to neglect the obvious, which is like emotional, verbal, and then it progresses into people being physically abusive. But I would say it starts off quite neglective when you're not knowledgeable of the other person or just yourself. So that's what I would say it as.
I don't know if
So
there
you're-
is any duty to your partner to treat them with emotional well-being. Like, so in order to be neglectful, you have to have a duty of care.
But I think that when you choose to be with somebody, shouldn't there be a responsibility?
Not legally.
Not legally,
Yeah,
but I
not
guess
not legally, but that's where I'm saying. So I think that we do have that duty, and it should not be legally enforced. We can't have the fucking cops come and say you're a bad boyfriend. Like, no.
But
abuse
is legally enforced. Like, if I abuse my partner, like physics, so that's.
But I'm trying to make a distinction where you can not be an abuser, but you're still being abusive.
So you're just saying what everyone should morally do. Well, everyone morally should just be perfect all the time and treat everyone with kindness and eat their vegetables and don't do drugs. Never vape. Never vape.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we are. I think we can't avoid being abusive, and we should try to be thoughtful and self-reflect when we are.
Why do you want to label shortcomings in human relationships as abuse?
Real quick, PF Young, we're talking about the fact that everybody in relationships are abusive. So I got to run to the restroom. I'll be right back.
He thinks everyone in every relationship is abusive to a certain degree. And
it's a spectrum. Some people are really close to none, but and some people get to a point where now you're legally an abuser and you need someone to get involved.
Isn't abuse a legal term?
Yeah,
yes.
That's exactly what I'm getting.
But it's also a psychological like a term that so the conversation you're going to have in a courtroom about abuse is going to be very different from the conversation you're going to have with a psychologist or a therapist about abuse. And I'm trying to use the language of therapy and like emotional or relationship dynamics. And I feel like online people if the thing that you're sacrificing really is the ability to dogpile someone or demonize someone, if you're because just talking about that does not take away the legal definition. It's like you're not having these nuanced conversations does not change the law, and I don't think it should. But so I think the only thing it takes away is people's ability to dogpile people and jump down people's throats on Twitter and shit. Good riddance. You need that shit.
I mean, I understand, like in therapy or whatever, you might use, I feel like this is an abuse of some kind, or an abuse of power is like a metaphor. It's not a legal term, but like if I say, well, someone abused their wife or someone abused their child, like that draws a very specific image in mind, and I don't know.
It does. It does.
What
I'm
is
not
the
going to
point?
disagree.
What is the point of?
Okay, here's the point.
You put something on Twitter. Can you read your tweet again?
The tweet is what I've been saying. The tweet is what I've been saying. I want to just tell you the point, okay? The point, because the point, the reason.
Proud, please. If you don't
everybody
mind.
fucking the reason that I'm making this distinction, the point of doing it is because there's a context which you're going to use the legal sense, and that's like 100% appropriate and true, and you need that. But there's also a context where we can self-reflect and say, you're being abusive, I'm being abusive, and try to like grow as a person. And we are sacrificing one of those.
I feel like it's not as healthy to describe it as abuse if it's like
Right.
interpersonal conflict. Because then it's like, well, why are you using the same term that refers to people like beating their wives? Like maybe if we want to resolve this interpersonally, we use like there's some friction or you're being disengaged or you're being overbearing or something like that. Like there's many different words. So of all the words that we'd have, could use for what you're describing, probably not the legal term would be best, in my opinion. Is this all in the context of Jonah Hill? What is
I
assumed-
because I assumed when I heard abuse, okay, this is whatever there's all kinds of Twitter bullshit about Jonah Hill being abusive of some kind or allegedly. I don't know. And I don't
the boundaries he set I think are kind of abusive. I don't think he should go to jail. I don't like honestly I'm really unsure how I feel about this stuff being a public conversation because I don't really think it rises to that level. But it is abusive. I think but since it is like it should be noted like what he's doing isn't healthy. We should try not to like be like that with our partners. This is not healthy dynamics. I understand why she felt that way.
Okay, I don't know any relationship that's perfect. I really don't.
Me either. That's
and
what
I
I'm saying.
wouldn't. But then again, I wouldn't. I know very few relationships that are abusive, and so for you to call every single relationship abusive, that's why I believe it minimizes true abuse. I understand what you're saying is that we need to be able to talk about abuse on all levels so that we could address even small levels of abuse. However, I don't think by labeling it a term like abuse, something so heavy, that necessarily brings more attention to it or solves the issue. I think there's ways to solve relationship issues, especially minor ones, without
talking about it
so drastic. No, you could talk about it, but to label it abuse.
Strawmanning you.
Can we
sorry,
Lauren, I believe I've seen you is somewhere, I don't recall, something Thorpe adjacent at one point. I think I saw one clip of I won't even go into that. That's the only but I don't know anyone on here. So can we do introductions for people who are coming around and what everyone's background is?
I know you.
So
I know you from Farscape. I know you from Farscape. You look exactly like the main actor.
From what is it?
The TV show called Farscape. I watched it as a kid. It's like you look exactly like this guy.
You mean Dawson's Creek?
Yeah.
Farscape.
I think so. Is that a person?
You don't look like Dawson's Creek.
I don't look like James Vanderbeek. That's the most common comment on my videos. Besides,
really,
I get told I look like Adam Sandler.
like
Varsity Blues, and Dawson's Creek. Centrist James Vanderbeek.
That's fine.
But what are each? Who are you guys? How would you guys introduce yourself to?
My name's Tom.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
Nice
Welcome
to see you.
Tom. Nice
Yes.
to meet you.
Smith, what's your?
And I am an addict.
What's your thing? What do you do? What is your?
I am streaming.
What is your reason for being here?
Making videos. My reason for being here is to tell you that abuse is nuanced.
Yeah, that was bad. What is your reason for being here? Sounds too hostile. What do you do? What do you talk about in your world? What are your interests?
Stuff like that. I like to talk about like relationship dynamics, and I like to talk about abuse as a spectrum thing that pisses everyone off, and I like to talk about I don't know. I like to talk about like automate a video about autogynephilia.
Nice. All right. All the hot topics. I mean, autogynephilia is not a totally irrelevant issue, especially to like the gender issues and stuff. Lauren, you're a lawyer or something, or what is your?
I'm not yet an attorney. I'm waiting on character and fitness, but I passed the bar.
You have to take a fitness test to be a lawyer?
Congratulations.
Yeah, so many push-ups. It's crazy. Yeah, wild.
What?
Wild. Yeah. So but in the meantime, I'm just doing content creation. I'm interviewing a lot of people. I'm going on streams. Last night I spoke to Nick Fuentes, and I'm Jewish, so That was interesting.
Must have went well.
Yeah, it was fine. Talk to him again tomorrow because actually the lights went out. Kind of crazy.
Oh, interesting. You should take him out for chicken and waffles. That has gone well in previous interactions with him.
You talked to Nick yesterday
Yeah,
on the Fresh and Fit thing?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see
you
you.
were on
I
Fresh and
watched
Fit?
some of it. I watched like the beginning debate about the JQ for a while. I didn't get that far in.
Did I just
Obviously on the after party.
Did I just walk into a panel of like celebrities? Like you guys are on Fresh and Fit and stuff? What's
Not me.
Do you know who
Angela
Angela Knight
Angela?
is also on Fresh and Fit.
No. See, I was just like, no, I wasn't.
What you are? What do you do?
I'm barely like a citizen in America. I just got like my citizenship like last week. So I'm
Nice.
gonna
Congrats.
Yeah, no, right? I'm surprised. I know, right?
From where?
Don't
where
listen. Do
are you
not
Canadian?
listen to her. She is making this stuff up.
From intensive
you?
reading to being on Tom's panel, like I don't even know how I got here. This is amazing. So yeah, I sometimes talk about relationships, but you know, I graduated from the Red Pill community. I'm in community college now, and now we're here with you guys talking about real relationships outside of men simping on hoes that they absolutely hate yet want to sleep with them. And that's pretty much it.
I still do that.
This is
Also,
Ivy
FYI,
League here. I don't know what you're talking about.
on.
This is Ivy League, not community college. Okay.
Hold on, real quick note on the I have it. Anyone who's intelligent should have infinitely more respect for anyone who goes to community college than wastes their fucking money and goes $150,000 in debt for like a 4-year degree. I have friends who are for life going to be paying that shit back because since fucking
they
birth we were
also
lied
make
to.
more than every freaking buddy that went to community college.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Depends what they majored in.
Not my friends. Yeah, not if you major in fucking communications or whatever else fucking
Fine art.
English bullshit. Yeah.
Oh, fun fact about community college.
So anyone, my former boss at my last company, she was a director of like a department and never went to college. I'm like, I respect you infinitely fucking more. So don't ever shit on
Don't go to
college.
college.
Don't go to college. If you're gonna go to community college for 2 years, and then maybe on your last 2 years, go get your undergraduate somewhere with it.
I have a degree in fine arts. I think that if you really want to learn how to paint, you should go to like a painting academy. You'll get all the same education, way more focused in like a 1 year. And the degree is useless. And with like art, it's like you're actually there for the education, so that you're paying for something that's completely fucking useless. And it's sad to say that, but I got gypped. I did go to community college for all general education.
That's smart. That's what you should
I kind of feel like my degree's a little worthless too.
Well, you have a lot. Well, I was gonna. The exception are technical degrees like law or
I have
medicine.
a math degree as well.
You have a what degree?
Mathematics.
Math.
Yeah.
Does that ever come up in law?
Nope, it's completely useless. How often do you need any calc?
Wow.
And
I dated a mathematician.
Well beyond calc, like so far beyond. And I will.
I have a minor degree in gender studies.
Beautiful. You could actually use that though, because you could go to college, teach kids. You can make good money going to businesses and teaching about not abusing one another with micro abuses. I think you should get into that business.
Or you could just write documents like me and let them all use it in their classes for free and just get nothing out of it. Yeah.
It's called charity.
Apparently.
Yeah, I left my last company because they were too weird with all the DEI stuff.
Fuck. Sorry, I think there's a lag. I don't know. I hate talking.
Yeah, you're kind of choppy. Your thing like freezes.
My router is in China or something. Who knows? It's still getting that shipped over here.
I hate when that happens.
It's rough. It's
brutal.
No, you PF Young, you know who she is. You saw the whole thing where MLD walked off the stage because there was an Asian woman just like ripping into him.
Who's MLD?
Okay.
No, wait, I saw that video.
Never mind.
I saw that video. Was that you?
You reacted with Destiny.
I reacted to that video with that was great. I loved you. I
Oh,
loved you. You were fucking on it. Good
Is that
on you for like.
Myron MLD?
No.
Who's
MLD
MLD?
like he's some
Modern life
conservative
dating.
dude who wanted to like. He was like in her chat at some point earlier before the stream. Like you fat
On another
bitch.
show.
Like
only
Just
basically
like-
called me fat. Like just like it was just
Oh,
like some
I've seen this
childish-
guy.
But
Yeah,
like
he was the
trolls
Endura
do it all
guy.
the time. Yeah, trolls do it all the time. It's different when you have a check mark next to your name and you're like in mutuals with people that I know, and I'm like, okay, this is just like ignorant, and you're not. I don't think it's very masculine like to do something like that. Like I think women, we chatter all day long, we gossip, we talk shit. It's a very feminine thing to do. But when men do that, and then
I
you
do that
sit
too.
and say like, it's cringy. I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't really
Yeah, I
think
don't do
that's a
that.
very masculine thing. So
I agree. I never do that.
yeah,
When a
Also,
blue
how
check
did
mark
he have
does
the
that, it's like your next
Yeah.
week is like booked with people, telling you you're fat,
it's kind of lame. Yeah.
And then
So
the worst part was him just not owning up to it. So she calls him out for it in front of everybody. And he's like, nope, wasn't me. It reminded me of the Shaggy song. So we caught her on the counter. Wasn't me. Like, he just, like, could not fucking own it. It was great. It was hysterical.
no, I saw you on the whatever pod. I had no idea who you were, but you looked like some innocent white girl chilling there. I mean, you looked in the whole, fit. And what'd you say to Brian? That shit was hilarious. You like called him like a 3 or something, and I was cackling. I was like, I can't cope with this right now. This is ridiculous.
There's no
And I
way.
don't
He's
think
a
he wanted to
good-looking
own it.
dude too. Like I remember that. That's right. He's a good-looking dude. He's a good. Brian's a good-looking dude. Yes.
Maybe on camera, but you haven't seen him in real life, and I would
I
say that
haven't seen him in real life. Does he have like a big belly or something? What's it? What does that
He has
mean?
a couple
What's
of
wrong
things.
with that, Tom? Would that make someone less attractive if they have a big belly?
I think that when he has the type of standards that he has,
That's pretty fucked up.
that's the problem. I think that he names these outrageous like standards for women, like low body count, like just innocent and like impressionable and outgoing but not outgoing. And I'm like, you name a lot of personalities that you yourself don't have, considering the posture that he sits in 90% of the time in the show and in real life. And I could go into detail, but it seemed like I'm body shaming, which I will happily challenge him on that. But I'm not gonna do that to him because that's a man, and I have to respect my position as a woman because I'm not superior to men. So I'll accept it. That's fine. But
Nice.
I think it's pretty lame.
I'm kind of friendly with him. I think he's a nice enough guy. So I'm not going to shit on him. I just thought it would be funny to call him a 3. And it was funny because we're still talking about it right now.
So you
How
don't
did you
actually
guys-
think he's a
I don't
3
like
then?
people who
Okay.
aren't like consistent. I hate hypocrites. It's my biggest pet peeve. Like I think like when I see people being sneaky and shady, like if we sit here and say constantly this view is like men are logical, women are emotional. And I remember being on that panel with him and Sterling Cooper, and I brought up a valid point, and instead of them like, you know what, I didn't think about that. That's accurate. It was more so like deflecting and just like, well, that's why you don't bring them to America. And I'm like, that was like such a childish reply from 2 men who sat there who just tried to prove a point, and I just dismantled it ignorantly and still somehow did it. And I was just kind of like, wow, I've really lost respect for the more people I engage with in this space because they like to dunk on idiots. And then when somebody actually challenges on them, it's just like constant deflection. And then like, and then like the clips that they post, like modern men owns dumb feminists. The fuck? I was like, that's the clip you posted of me after my editor posted the sickest clips and you didn't care to post that, you asswipe. Be fair about it. Is all I'm gonna say. That's why Tom is fair, and that's why we're here. So
Tom is
Shout
fair,
out to
yes.
Tom is fair. So yeah.
Is fair.
Like Tom did a
fair.
video also where I was like, oh no, where you did the MLD thing, and you're like, well, did he call her fat to her face or what? I was like, oh shit. So when Tom reached out to me, I was like, oh fuck, like I don't really think that you want to talk to me, bro. I don't think like this is gonna be compatible if you're coming in with bad faith. But like you were open about it, so then here we are. My thing is like come in with good faith, and if you hear something that's at least understanding, or if you're gonna agree, like be open about it. Like don't have ego, and I think a lot of them have ego, and it's really unattractive. So.
How did
Yeah.
you guys end up on Fresh and Fit? Did like Myron and them reach out to you, like Twitter DMs or something? Or
No, they have a bunch of girls who do this stuff for them, and it's not even a
do
privilege.
they
Like, people-
really?
yeah,
That makes
it's like
sense. That's,
people say
that's
like,
classic.
"Oh, it's so lucky you're girls," but like they have their intentions of bringing women on there. Let's be fair; they want to dunk on people. They don't really expect the Trojan horse to be rolling on there to dunk on
I
them.
love
So
you, Tom.
majority of the time, it seems like a privilege, but I don't know. Unless you build a relationship with them, it takes like time. But for the most part, I personally don't. I didn't like my experiences on any of the panels. But then again, I'm the only Asian chick ever there, so never mind.
No, I don't know a ton of Jewish girls that go on these panels, but I still enjoy my time. Like I the way I see it, I see it differently. I used to see it as they're only bringing girls to dunk on them. And I do think that's part of it. But it's not just to dunk on women, it's to point out the problems in society that they're seeing, which is like this archetypal type of girl who is kind of a frequent archetype in our society that is being praised that maybe shouldn't be praised as much. And that's a valid point. That being said, when they do have women that they either agree with or disagree with who are able to articulate their points and aren't completely brain dead, they'll have them back. Like, I mean, I've been asked back to both of those shows. You've been asked back, I'm sure. And so it's like, I don't know. I don't think they're trying to just dunk on women.
I would have to say I say that mostly because I recognize that when there is pushback, like for example, when I was on there, it was more so like throw me on the couch. And I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was being like, I don't really know what was going on. Like when I'm there and I'm trying to articulate a point and then you go to do the little buzzer shit, then you have like 3 dumbasses in the background saying some extra shit. Like if it was me, if I was a guy talking to, let's say, the host, there'd be no disrespect back comment. There'd be no like buzzer sound in the midst of me trying to articulate a point. I think like majority of the girls there are not used to that chaos. And let's say like I'm aware of it because if you're a content creator, you are recognizing that these questions are so much like aha questions. And if you're not able to answer the questions, you're gonna look like a complete dumbass because they want you to say yes or no for a really complex question. And I don't want to. And if I don't, it's like, oh, you're being so hard. You just answer the question. I'm like, but it's not a yes or no type of question. So from there, you could easily just get kicked out. And to me, it's like, all right, I'm not a combative person. So for me, sitting in these spaces, and if I'm not like aggressively asserting myself, it's like, what's your use of being there? You have to assert yourself. And
yeah,
I'm
a combative, aggressive person.
I'm not. Yeah. So that's why you're asked, and I'm not. Like when I sit there, I'm like, if it's not like a circle conversation or like, and there's too many people there, so you really have 2 seconds to answer a question. And if you're not confident, you could say some stupid shit. And it's mostly like as a girl hearing women talk, now I can understand what they're trying to say, but they're not able to speak it in a manner where those guys can receive it and just like, have some sort of empathy. It's more so like, you're a dumb bitch. So that's how
let me ask you this. Can you agree with the point that they're trying to make? At least here's a couple of points. Women shouldn't always be hyping up other women and being like, you're a 10, slay queen, slay. And think, oh yeah, I'm a perfect 10 and I'm perfect and all these men are beneath me. Do you think that mentality is a common mentality among young women and is problematic for society?
Yeah, I can't say yes or no. And the reason why I would say yes, I think that that's what people lean to when there's really nothing. I've encountered those types of girls. And I think that when you challenge them with empathy and logics, they're willing to understand and willing to change. Like this is all they have when they're young, which is to, gas each other up and give each other compliments. Because in the men's world, it's very like very black and white, very militant, very like you do your job, I'll do my job. There's really no empathy in the men's world. And that's how they get by. To a certain degree, that's why they get their job done, but they don't feel feelings. They shit on feelings, and these girls are solely on feelings. These girls are like,
I disagree. I have feelings.
Well, you acknowledge it.
Well,
You seem.
I
like
think she's talking. She's talking about like the red pill perfect world, like the thing that like they aspire for. They say is
you're
like
talking
the
about
right way to be.
From their perspective. Well, then the part of the problem is the fact that they don't empathize or they don't talk about their feelings.
That's my problem with them. It's like they're addressing a problem that does exist, but they're prescribing this idea that it's only for, well, how to say this? It's their world, but they cover it for the mass. It's a blanket world, and if you challenge them, it's like, no, all women are this way. If you go to work, you're a dumbass. If you go to school, you're a dumbass. I'm like, well, who's stopping you from going to college? Because I'm curious as to why women are dominating, and you're choosing to be a bum, and you're mad at us for not wanting to settle for the bum. And if you ask like any of them, like, would you want your daughter to settle for a bum? If he protected her, how can you protect me if you don't even know how to fight inflation? If you don't even know how to survive in this day and age, when you're complaining and saying that the world is oppressing you, when there's really nothing oppressing you, it's just your ignorant mindset. And that's how they view the world. That's how I view it, as like what they're saying about these girls being super crazy and super egotistical. Like, sure, but they also contribute to that. Those guys who sit there, who shit on those girls, who also make an effort to fuck them and subscribe to them and constantly inflate them and also beat them down while gassing them up. It's like a very toxic, abusive relationship from what I see with those type of guys.
They need girls to be stupid bimbos, or else like their whole ideology wouldn't work.
me ask you another question, though. Do you see an issue with the fact that a lot of the time, like Fresh and Fit's perfect example, they'll invite random girls on, and a third to half of them can't name 3 countries?
Well, that's
Yeah,
like,
but that's the thing.
I invited,
Go ahead.
what's his name? Brian on to talk to him because every time somebody confronts him on this dichotomy of like the way that the show's set up, that he'll invite like a bunch of Instagram models on just to dunk on them, he denies that that's the case. And it's like, what? No, we don't. That's not true at all. We just want to have a conversation. So I've invited him on because I would actually like to talk to him about that. There's no way you have a selection bias in the types of people that you're bringing on one side, where it's like Instagram models that have there's no reason to believe that they know anything about feminism, they know anything about politics, they know anything about dating. They're not going to know the stats. But then the other side of the table are a bunch of like red pill gurus who have a bunch of studies and their booklets with them, and they know like they have a bunch of followers who follow them for these types of topics. And so yes, like you're setting up a thing where it's obvious you have the experts of one side and then the nobodies of another side to duel it out. If you actually wanted to have a real conversation, you would get people who knew what they were talking about on both sides.
He brought Lav on, who I thought put up a pretty good fight, and then then Lila Rose is the other one. That whole clip of that one guy being like, I just want to say up front, you know, I see someone said I'm triggered by you. I'm not triggered by you. I'm annoyed by you. It's like that I thought Lila Rose is, even though I disagree with her on some stuff. But
I reviewed it with Lav, and so many people thought she did horribly, and she did such a good job.
Che Guevara, or what was it?
Yeah. Okay, I remember her. She did a really good job, and she was a liberal. Liberal talking.
She was entertaining too.
She was,
like,
yeah.
It wasn't just.
Well, she said some crazy stuff too. She said some really wild stuff about like all men are like rapists or something like that. Yeah. So like I reviewed it.
I didn't catch that part. So
her and I reviewed it together, and there were so many people still crapping on her just because they don't like her, and they're like, she did a good job, even though she has some crazy freaking beliefs. She really does. She says some wild stuff, and she's done some really messed up stuff to a lot of people as well. But in that debate, she did a good job, and so many people who hate her just still like trashed on everything that she said.
And didn't Brian invite her back? And Brian is nice to her and enjoyed the conversation with her. And I don't know, maybe it's wrong about inviting her back, but I don't see that being as disingenuous as you're making it out to be. And
I think
Brian's not as bad. Brian's not as bad as Fresh and Fit.
Wait, no. Hold on. So yes, they invite on Destiny. They invite on Lav. They invite on a bunch of people like that. But by far the majority of the people that they're inviting on are Instagram models, right? So you'll have one person who knows what they're talking about.
The audience want to see hot Instagram models.
Yes, that's fine. Don't deny that you're there to have a conversation, though. You don't deny that you're there for some search of truth.
Why can't you have a conversation with an Instagram model, Tom?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Or should I say pig?
You can have a conversation. He's denying that it's like a dichotomy set up to destroy them, to make them look bad. He's denying that that's the case, and that's obviously the case.
A lot of his show is saying that I'm against promiscuity and I'm against this specific lifestyle that these types of women tend to promote, especially if they're also on OnlyFans.
Okay.
Right. So he invites the women that are like promoting the thing that he doesn't like. So he's kind of setting them up. He's not as bad like as Fresh and Fit, but they are set up to fail. Like
it's just content farming. That's all they're doing, and I think like they can have a problem when you say that. Like, and it's like, here's the thing: they say that women who go to college are stupid as fuck, at the stupidest grade, da 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 da. But then when I say, hey, you guys bringing some dumbass chicks on there? Oh no, they're college educated women all over the states. We handpicked them, but you just said they're dumb as shit, and at the same token, they're smart as fuck because they have a college degree. People who have college degree doesn't mean they actually know how to debate and have civil discourse with people, especially in that type of setting. Those are two different things. And then when you bring it up, it's just like, oh no, you don't understand what we're trying to say. I'm like, listen, I don't give a fuck of what you want to do. If you want to pop your pussy online, just be upfront about what your main goal is. Because when you say that you're a male empowerment, what are you empowering? Because with the couple of gurus that I've seen, I interact with them and I'm disgusted with how they carry themselves. And I'm like, be better than what the fuck you're selling. I think that's pretty lame. If you're going to sit here and say that you're teaching people to be better people, but you have poor people's skills and you're just being a hypocrite. That's just
Well,
my thing.
no, this is like saying I have some
a-
issues with chemotherapy, so I'm going to go get a bunch of cancer patients instead of a doctor. Or I don't like the way this engine runs, so I'm going to go get somebody who drives a car instead of somebody who's a mechanic. Like, you go get the person who actually knows what they're talking about in that scenario, the expert on this scenario, and somebody who can actually engage with you on the same level that you're trying to engage on. Not the person who's doing the OnlyFans, but the person who's like the feminist who's been fighting for the right to do the OnlyFans.
So you want like an OnlyFans anthropologist who's like studying
a feminist activist.
models, who is like the expert.
Lav is a feminist
expert.
activist. She's like, that's somebody who's good. Destiny is a feminist activist. That's somebody who's good.
Really?
You go get somebody
Honestly, I think any girl
Destiny's a
who-
feminist activist.
I think any woman who asks to be on the show can basically get on the show.
I'm not denying that they can go on the show. I'm saying that they're denying that what they're setting up is a dichotomy where they are going to destroy those people. Like, they are setting up, they got MLD, they got freaking like all of these red pill leaders on one side of the table and Instagram models on the other side of the table. If it was supposed to be some like even mix, they would go get like a choir girl for the other side of the table as well. But that's not what they're doing.
Most of the time,
To be more charitable, Tom, instead of they're set up to destroy them, you could say they're setting them up to embarrass themselves. Like,
it's the same thing.
Like, say if you want to like grow a brand or
literally the same
something
thing.
and you care about that and your image, you go on there early on, it could totally like destroy your trajectory.
maybe
like, it
they're
could-
already embarrassing themselves, and he's just pointing a camera at it.
I don't
Sure,
know.
but again,
That's kinda mean.
One of your people in your chat said that he thinks all girls should do OnlyFans.
Based.
So in the beginning, like the reason why I was saying like the joke behind it was like the graduation behind the whole red pill thing. I mentioned, I do believe that it does exist. The problems that they're presenting, it's just not a lifelong problem. I think they choose to sit in that oppressive mindset, of like everything being very materialistic, everything being transactional between men and women. But they create that. The guys do and the girls do. They both get into these types of relationship, and then they're mad that there's nothing beyond it. And the reason why I've like unplugged myself from it, it's because I can't have a civil conversation with any of these dorks without them throwing these insults and attacking and dogpiling. It's fine when they do it to girls, but if I do it to a guy and two of the girls do it, they just cry. And I'm like, I just think it's kind of a bitch move. If you're a high value man, you should be able to back up everything you say with your eyes closed, your hands crossed. Why the fuck are you worried if 5 girls question you? There should be nothing. The truth does not have to be involved with you stuttering and being worried. I think like with women, if you're gonna sit here and say that you're superior to women, that means majority of the time I'm talking, you're gonna have to decode what the fuck I'm saying, because I probably don't know how to talk. And like if you have some sort of empathy as a host or anything, or as a man, and you can tell a lot of these guys don't have kids or women that they value in their life like a wife, because they treat everything very
They have 5 wives.
yeah, I'm sure they're doing such a fantastic job, because they had 5 wives. They definitely wouldn't be on a podcast talking about these types of girls. Like, people who have real lives don't really, inject themselves into these spaces like that. And I think like when you challenge them, if they try to normalize so many unhealthy habits, speaking to the masses, and I'm like, y'all are talking to wannabe high value men, and you're talking to a bunch of incels that you're creating, and it's just a really like toxic cycle from what I noticed. To a certain degree, you have to recognize you have to unplug from it, and I think that they don't see that. They keep saying they're unplugging from the matrix, but they are creating another fucking matrix within itself. So that's how I view it as.
I have
You don't think that they're helping people? You don't think incel type men are drawn to that kind of content because they're incels? And don't you think some of the advice, such as losing weight and trying to be more alpha and like more masculine, you don't think some of the advice that they give is genuinely trying to help them in like the relationship space?
So what they're giving isn't some like magical profound thing. You can find it in a self-help book. Tony Robbins can tell you that. At the same token, not everybody's aimed to be like a muscle juice head guy. In their world, if you're not a muscle juice head fitness guru, you're a fucking loser. And to me, I have friends in all demographics. I have friends who are emo, anime friends, political spectrum, vice versa, everything. So not everyone's gonna look like that. And I think, for example, I get booked calls all the times with people, and I have like one of the guys who will tell me like, dude, I make a lot of money. I'm somewhat attractive. I've done everything. I've done the pickup artist community shit. He's like, and I can't form a genuine relationship with a woman. He's like, I'm not really sure that this community actually helped me the way I thought. After 10 years, guys, like, I'm not going to expose who it is, but like, 10 years being in the space and absorbing everything, the blueprint that they offer does not fit for everybody. And they make it seem like it does. And I'm like, listen, you guys are very good at preschooling to the basic steps of be healthy, find a goal. That's fine. But don't think that you're actually solving the world. Like, you're not solving this world issue. You're solving a very like minute issue of like this mindset where I grew up in like poverty. So when I see these problems, these types of girls, these types of guys, this transaction relationship, I recognize it is a thing. And I did resonate with that. But once you grow the fuck up, you start realizing you build meaningful relationships outside of that. It isn't just materials. It isn't just everyone's a hoe. It isn't because you have a 5 body count, you're a fucking loser. I think that's so lame to say that. And I think like, yes, girls shouldn't be selling themselves online. But at the same token, I'd rather a girl sell herself online than be in a relationship with some bum ass turd and have to like live a miserable lifestyle because they both don't know how to coexist with each other. Something has to give. And I think that unfortunately that is a route that these girls have taken, and I don't agree with it. But I don't think shaming is a healthy tactic. I think shaming is a heavy, like they talk about how the society has shamed men. You know, it's so hard. We are here because society has shamed us. But what are they doing also? They're also shaming other people. So how is that a healthy cycle into teaching other people to be better? I think that that's not a proper way to lead.
Plus, a lot of those guys that are getting shamed, like Destiny will go on there and they'll shame him for being like polyamorous and shit. That doesn't make any fucking sense because like he's making it fucking work. Okay, so their shame is directed at people that like are probably actually a lot of those people might have something going for them that they could benefit from, that they're being shamed because like they don't appreciate the red pill. They have a certain value system, and I think that they're right. They're right that we have certain we value women in a certain way, we value men in a certain way at large, and just because they accurately point out what we value in people, but they saying we have to play into that like full force. Like men, you have to
No,
work out
hold
a whole
on.
bunch.
No,
You have to
that's not
get
what they're
you
saying.
have to get a lot of money.
No, that's a straw man. They're not saying we
Is it?
have to play into this. Yes. So what they're saying is there is a way that the world already works. You are born into this world, and you can either try to change it and do something different and maybe end up lonely, or you can look at how it is, be pragmatic, and try to do your best within that system. The issue isn't that, like, for Red Pill, the bigger issue is that they do have truths underlying a lot of the stuff that they're saying, but then they have a whole lot of bullcrap that's not true piled on top of those truths that are insane. Sure. And then the insane stuff ends up coming with the very true fundamental truths. And so it ends up being like very hard for, if you're in the red pill, to like untie what is actually good advice and what is bullcrap.
But yeah, but when you say that they're gonna like, if you go your own way and you don't play into these things, you can be lonely. They don't ever say that with any form of respect or reverence. Like even someone like successful like Destiny, they're like, you're pathetic. Really? Like in any way that should matter to like Myron, he should not. I don't think Myron thinks this, but his Destiny's not pathetic.
They invite him back continuously. He was on last night.
Yeah, sure. I know.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm just saying they're sending a message to people that that Destiny's like a failure. They're saying that, like but like he's not a failure.
I don't think that they're acting like Destiny's a failure. Like even MLD was talking about the fact that Destiny lives the red pill lifestyle better than most red pillars. Like he's rich, he sleeps with a ton of different women, he's got a lot of status. Like they respect what it is he's doing, but they also have an issue with the fact that he did that in a very different way than the way that they recommend. They have very like traditional values, right? A lot of them end up over time, they realize that the stuff that they're prescribing isn't it doesn't have any sort of axiom that makes it make sense, and so they eventually start falling back onto like religion, and they start going into like very like Muslim. Like I think Myron, Tate, like Sneeko, they all started going to Muslim or to become Islam, because that now they have that fundamental thing that they can ground all of their other beliefs in, and now everything else makes sense. Now they can prescribe all of these things, and it all makes perfect sense.
Yo, what's up?
What up, man? How's it going?
I'm still getting used to this Discord system that you kids have invented.
I was gonna ask if I think Jordan Peterson is the antidote to the red pill. All of these kids who ended up listening to Fresh and Fit and all these people, they would have been so much better off if the first TikToks they saw was of Jordan Peterson rather than.
I'm sure the first TikToks they saw were Jordan
Dude,
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson is like a super fucking basic, typical alt-writer. He's like a Ben Shapiro. It's like
But wait,
he
none of
used
that's
to be
alt-right.
somewhat based in 2017. Nowadays, I can predict everything he's going to say.
Just
Oh
real
my
quick.
God, the trans people.
Calling Ben
Wait,
Shapiro
Ben Shapiro
alt-right.
and Jordan Peterson are not alt-right, just to be clear. Like, alt-right is like a neo-Nazi movement. Neither one of them are alt-right.
Okay,
They're
fine,
like,
right
I
wing.
thought he was
That word
joking.
is used loosely, but right
Okay.
wing.
Yeah, like Ben
Yeah, but
Shapiro.
they're
like,
not.
honestly,
But they're. But
I used to hate Ben Shapiro, but he's chill. He's so chill compared to some of these people.
He's super chill, and he can be based.
Peterson is not telling men what is it that all these women who reject you are bitches and all this different stuff or all this nonsense. It's like get your own shit together and go solve a problem and then be worthy of actually attracting a woman. It seems like a more positive message than
have certain advantages over red pillars. I will give you that. Tradcons don't really push like the victim thing and just like being bitter towards women. But they also, I don't really think, give you any kind of like really good advice. It's like, I mean, their advice is super basic. Like, start a family, find a girl you love. Like, yeah, I mean, like if you need to hear that from someone, then like I guess
it's not I don't think any of that advice is in 12 Rules for Life.
I mean, early Peterson was good.
Just
Current Peterson is horrible. Current
I agree.
Peterson is
To go
insane.
mask off, I am a former Jordan Peterson fan because he's gone nuts on Twitter. But his OG material, all the 2017 lectures and stuff like that, I have yet to hear.
When he talks about psychology,
I've yet to hear anyone offer any real criticism of that philosophy he's put forward.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah. I'm talking about him now, but yeah, 2017 Jordan Peterson was pretty based.
Right, exactly.
Has
So
to
if
do with
all
coma.
if all these kids, it probably does. But if all these kids who came across the Fresh and Fit TikToks came across the Jordan Peterson one, clean your room.
But I think Jordan
they would've
Peterson
been
is just
better
part
off.
of the pipeline to the red pill, though. Like Jordan
That's
Peterson
hilarious.
gives you a lot of the
I think that's a
stepping
joke.
stones
I
to eventually
completely-
end up in the red pill.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
He's the marijuana of the red pills. He's the great.
To explain that to me, how is that the case?
He's
He
the
gives you
gateway.
Yeah, he gives you a lot of those initial.
What does he say? What does he say that leads to women are bitches and blah blah blah, that different stuff?
Well, first of all,
I'm obviously, I know I'm being fucking oversimplifying. What is the red pill thesis in a nutshell? Angela was on the show.
Women are bitches.
He talks about.
I know I'm kind of
he
memifying
talks
it.
about the obesity epidemic a lot, and specifically regarding women and how women are not attractive when they're obese. And he talks about issues. So he's
That's a statement of fact. I mean,
another reason that he's a bridge to that kind of.
Wait, you're saying Jordan Peterson talks about obesity in women?
Yes.
He also talks about women
obesity in
not
women.
dressing too sexy at work.
The sorry not beautiful tweet. I know. This is why I'm a former Jordan Peterson fan, because I can't take anything he says on Twitter
He's
seriously.
a bridge to the red pill content is because he empathizes with the incel community. That's essentially his entire fan base, and this incel community is also drawn in by the messaging of this red pill, like the Fresh and Fit podcast type people, and the whatever.
Do you know any people who are like fans or former fans of Jordan Peterson? Again, modern. If anyone is a modern fan of Jordan Peterson, a fan in 2023, I would be suspect. But like the 2017 stuff and all that.
I like Jordan Peterson.
And you think his fan base is primarily incels? Certainly, I guess if you're saying like, broken young men.
Well, hold on. Wait, no, hold on.
A lot of fan bases are going to be primary incels.
Incels like self-identify.
Real quick, he did say, just like a year ago, that the government should have some sort of program to give incels girlfriends, right?
I hope you're joking right now. I hope you're fucking joking. This is a meme.
I'm not joking. I'm not
joking. You are 100% fucking wrong. I'll bet you $10,000 live stream
he
right now.
even talked about it with Joe Rogan.
Listen,
he talked about it with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan
enforced monogamy?
No, it wasn't. No, it was not enforced monogamy. Okay. So Joe Rogan said this kind of goes against your belief of equity versus equality, right? Because now you're saying that we have to give guys girlfriends just to make them more equal with other guys who have girlfriends. And he's like, yeah, I understand it can look a little hypocritical, but I'm just trying to explore new ideas.
He said that's not at all what I'm saying. He's like, do you really? He literally made a joke saying like, Do you think what I believe is that the government should like arrange marriages on behalf of incels? Do you think that's what Jordan Peterson advocated for?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well,
in the
you are
conversation
you
he
are
had
a
with
you
Joe
are
Rogan.
a you are a third-degree burn victim of misinformation because oh my god, that's the biggest laughable
He made it sound like
nonsense
he
I've
was
ever
just
heard.
like, oh, I was
No,
just
he didn't.
exploring ideas.
There's
I
not
was
a
just,
single
like, saying
clip.
things.
There's not
like,
a single clip that you can pull up of him saying anything even remotely approximating that.
Wait,
This
so
is
I'm gonna go to
misinformation. You are
Lauren.
spreading disinformation.
Okay.
Lauren,
I
where do
agree
you
with
agree with the
TM
current
here.
red pill stuff? Because the Jordan Peterson stuff, it's like, I'm sorry, like I
That's
agree
how
with
I feel
that.
about. That's how I feel about the red pill stuff. And to be fair, I'm more of a fan of the Jordan Peterson like maps of meaning, religion and psychedelics and the nature of reality.
But
And
I
all
think
that
usually
stuff.
when my content creators take to like Twitter, like whenever they go to Twitter, we've lost them because they usually show the side
I
that they
agree.
shouldn't show. So it's stay off of there.
Except Destiny. I will say Destiny actually is surprisingly solid on Twitter. In my
He has like
opinion.
a healthy troll amount. But Lauren, so where do you agree with this mainstream red pill people? Like I don't understand.
Well, they tend to be conservative, and I'm conservative. They recognize issues in society that I agree are issues in society. I think a lot of their content I do disagree with. So I'm not saying that I agree with all of their stances.
Mhm.
And I mean, as you've seen on the show, I tend to argue with them on their more illogical stances. But the underlying premises, the basic shit, I agree with.
So do you agree with shaming, the way that their tactics or their ways to like handle the modern issues that they claim?
There is something to be said about like the body positive movement being a detriment, and also like for instance, if you look at modern medicine, they are encouraging doctors to think about health it's called healthy at any weight. And so they're encouraging doctors not to talk about weight as the issue for a lot of the symptoms that patients are coming in with, even if weight is the underlying symptom. So this like acceptance towards this movement towards trying to be accepting of all people is actually causing actual detrimental effects on society. So I do think that shaming has power. It's the most powerful motivator, and I think that shaming could be beneficial in society. That being said, yeah, there's everything in moderation. I don't.
Isn't the weight thing just trying to be more inclusive and to knock down like Eurocentric beauty standards and all that?
No,
not when you're talking about the doctor.
Yeah, but they take it too far. Like
But
when
like
they say
it's
health-
a Eurocentric medical system that says that obesity like causes all these problems. When like
Okay, this is okay.
oppression
You're gonna
and
get a hot take out of
racism.
me. Okay, you're going to get a hot take, but I hate this. I hate that. I hate that shit. Like
it's 'cause
there
you're
is
white.
there is an
He's
obesity
joking.
epidemic, and the
He's
obesity.
joking.
The obesity.
Do not argue with him right now. He is joking.
You-
He is freaking
Wait,
lying.
hold on.
to it.
Wait,
I do not believe anything he is saying right now.
I'm sorry, that skinny women, the beauty standard of like skinny, thin women is a Eurocentric beauty standard. That's absolutely the case.
No, the
that
healthy
is
at
true.
any weight is very different than that.
Yes.
But that's
Healthy
just
at any weight
combating
is-
the Eurocentric
Yes.
beauty standard that was foisted upon us as a result
Well,
of
in a
colonialism
dumb
and
way.
patriarchy.
The
I think
thing
you
where
guys
people
forgot
try
about
like
You're a white male, and so you commenting on
Yeah,
what
this
women's
is
bodies
bullshit.
should be.
I'm not telling you what they should be. I'm trying to tell you that like the response to that, which is like, yeah, sure, we have this like we've set this arbitrary standard, and a lot of it lines up with like with white women and shit.
Yeah, white
But
colonial patriarchal
But
standards.
the attempt
I can't.
to make being obese sexy because the obesity epidemic among the African American population is way higher, so black women tend to be fatter. Like the attempt to make that sexy is just like really misguided. I think the attempt should be to like make people healthy, and we should make it so that like black people have like access to
healthy by white European beauty standards. This is what I'm talking about. See, hold on.
healthy
You don't
by
even
like
understand.
life expectancy, diabetes, fucking like
Again,
getting your fucking foot
these are
amputated, shit like
all-
that.
Notice how you are referring to the dominant culture's metrics of what constitutes health. You operate in a system that privileges you, and then
I
you're
think
referring back to
longevity-
it to defend that system.
You do realize
Longevity.
you're trolling. right now, right?
What are you talking about? This is
You're having to say it
if
again.
you're
Alex,
trolling
I'm
me, you're so
guessing-
fucking good
I'm
at it.
guessing you're white too, Alex, by your profile
I'm
pic.
actually 1% Middle Eastern according to my 223andMe. I would appreciate if you do not guess my skin color. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, to be fair, you're 4 times as Middle Eastern as Elizabeth Warren is Native American, and she's Harvard's
but
first
I'm
Native
not-
American professor.
They
So
classify me as white either. I don't think.
I don't think we should shame.
Don't know what
I don't think we should
you
shame fat
say
people.
about that.
I'm
Also, I
Jewish.
have a humongous schlong, so the black community has accepted me.
You know, the
Yes.
Jews are considered the most persecuted group in America, and you're just gonna lump me in with whites?
Oh yeah, I'm
Well,
47%.
I think that's racist.
Yeah,
I think you
but-
sound like a racist white man.
He's got a
Okay.
history with the Jewish
Anti-
people.
First off,
Maybe?
first off,
Wow.
I'm not.
Really?
First off,
The
I'm
next
non-binary. I'm non-binary. So
much higher
you're
last
Okay.
night. He didn't disrespect me in this way.
first off. I am non-binary, so you saying I'm a man is putting
Oh.
me in your gender roles. First off, to say that
You-
Jewish people are not
that's a-
white. Here's what I would say to that. If you're telling me that Ben Shapiro is not white, then I don't know what you mean by white.
He's
because
Jewish.
Ben Shapiro's
I've heard him
white
rap
as
like
fuck.
50 times.
Okay, Ben Shapiro is the archetypal white guy.
He's Jewish. Are you
I'm-
unaware that Ben Shapiro is Jewish? Are you
And
like
I'm making.
just out? That's what the little small hat is for.
Oh, is that what that is? I never.
Yeah.
figured- What was? I never.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
that
not
was like a psoriasis thing.
No.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying Jewish people are white, pretty much. I think.
Are
I
you
think
being
Jewish
ironic
people
or
are
not?
white
Because I
too.
can't
They're
fucking
white.
tell. I'm so.
All right, hold on. I'm
They're
going in and
not.
out of. I'm going in and out of irony.
I
But hold
know
on.
it's really
Actually,
weird.
though, hold on. But hold on. If my understanding is correct, when people cite statistics about like white wealth versus black wealth and different things, when people cite all those statistics, Jewish people are part of the white demographic.
Yep.
Is that not the case?
Jewish erasure.
Like if you look at because it's like, well, white people occupy positions of power. Well, it's like obviously, as Ben Shapiro points out, and every person who is not blind or a liar, Jewish people are statistically overrepresented in a lot of positions of power, and that's what goes into the white patriarchy.
The word
Yeah.
overrepresented is a little weird, but
I'm
there are
quoting.
a lot
I'm
of
quoting.
there are a lot
I'm
of
quoting. I'm quoting the website that is dedicated to what is it? Fighting whatever the Jewish thing or whatever.
Yeah,
I did
that
a video
thing.
on it that Tom got
well,
mad
the,
about.
the, the, the word
No
overrepresented.
Jewish, no person of any kind would dispute that Jewish people are statistically, which just means for the size
They're
of the
richer.
population they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's
They're
a number,
richer.
and there's many reasons for that. Number one, because they, I don't know, they value education. That would be helpful in, being successful.
Yeah.
Well, so no,
I-
because Smith is kind of right when he says overrepresented. Like generally, like the percentage isn't all that big.
I'm not even
It's the
saying
fact that
overrepresented. I'm saying statistically, it's a disproportionate representation. It's not a value. It's just saying it's a fact.
It's the
It's like
same
you
thing,
have a
but
small
the
number-
difference is that they're like it's the top companies, like top companies in media, top companies in finance. Like they tend to run all of the top ones, the most successful ones, over and over.
Well, and it's
So
like,
like even
that's
in,
like the that's like the meme version of like they're running everything. It's just like like they're at I believe the average like Jewish person's IQ is like one standard deviation above the average IQ.
Yeah.
So
That's
they're
true.
represented at like every there's. I went to a college and
Hey.
a big chunk of my fraternity were Jewish people, even though how many Jewish people are there? Like 3 million in the United States. It's something ridiculously small.
There
Yeah.
are a lot.
You would
of-
know how many?
like,
how many Jewish people in the
educated-
U.S.?
There are.
I
Look,
think
I
it's
need to
2
say some
million.
shit because I need
Yeah.
this not to be like just a big.
Like half of them were at my fraternity somehow. I don't know.
There are a lot of rich and
Jewish people
educated
love
Jewish
fraternity.
people, but like I think that with the issue that Jewish people have is they are
oh,
Just
compared
clip
to the
that.
rest. They
Hey,
already
just clip
they
that.
already
The issue
the
that Jewish
issue
the issue that
Jewish
they
people
have
yeah.
that we give them, the issue that we're making for Jewish people is that
Who's we?
they are a minority. Like so, and
whites.
so they don't have the benefit of being the majority, and they have the same like a lot of like non-white people have a resentment towards white people because we have all like white privilege and shit. And I think just everybody, because Jewish people tend to be more educated and more wealthy in general, not every Jewish person, like even white people see Jewish people as the white people of white people, and so everybody kind of resents them, and they have all the downsides of that.
That would be the Scandinavians. Actually,
think literally none of
I would
that is
consider the
true.
Swedes the white people of white people, in my opinion.
I don't think any of that is true. Most people who are black or Asian or whatever, they don't hate white people. They don't give a fuck. They focus on their own shit. That's just kind of an online thing. Second of all, white people don't hate on Jews. That's extremely rare. It doesn't really happen often.
Yeah,
It's
nobody
just
hates
like
Jews.
one-
Nobody hates Jews. Nobody hates
I
white
think
people. whatever.
Italians are the white people of white
90%
people.
of people, and they're all on the internet.
Can we go back to something less controversial, like obesity
Yeah, let's go
in
to
women
the
or something
Jonah
like that?
Hill thing. So the
Yeah,